Hey folks, welcome to episode 42 of the Bass Shed Podcast. My name is Ryan Roberts. www.dlakenbasses.com. Check them out. Co-founder of Lakeland Basses, Dan Laken, started a new company, D. Laken Basses. Stop by their website, check them out, shoot Dan a message. He is definitely interested in hearing from customers and helping you build the bass of your dreams. dlakenbasses.com. If you're enjoying the Bass Shed Podcast, please subscribe to whatever platform you're listening to it on. It's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, and YouTube. Hit subscribe, leave a rating or comment, and let me know what you think and who you might like to hear from on the podcast. All right, for those of you who have heard the last two episodes, I talked about losing a hard drive, right? I had a hard drive crash that I lost a bunch of data. So, working on getting that back, and if you are in the LA area, a big shout out to the folks over at 5-Star Data Recovery. This is not an ad. I did not know of them until a friend of mine recommended me to a place in Hollywood. Then the place in Hollywood recommended me to this place, and they have done an amazing job recovering the hard drive, and they're fantastic to work with. So, if you're in the LA area, highly recommend that. Dealing with them, hopefully you will never have to deal with data recovery. Just going to throw that out there right now. If you're dealing with something where you got a lot of files, even if you don't have a lot of files, back it up. Back that shit up because it is a pain when the hard drive crashes. All that being said, that all those files that are now recovered will be coming to life at thebassshed.com. So I'll have some new transcription packages, I guess, courses. I don't know what to call them. They're collections. I guess that's the word. Collections, new transcription collections. That was all planning to be released in January of 2021. That did not happen, but will be happening. So, instead of transcribing all that stuff again, I'm just going to wait until I get the hard drive back. So there's that. That's coming up at thebassshed.com. You can follow me on any of the social things. Instagram at the Bass Shed, Facebook, the Bass Shed, Twitter, Bass Shed. And I try to stay on top of that stuff too, and we'll let you know when things are happening. On episode 42 is Bubby Lewis. I've known of Bubby for a while. I had meant to go introduce myself to him at NAMM last year when I saw him at the MTD booth, and I got distracted and did not introduce myself to him at the NAMM booth. Excuse me, but we finally connected, and it was great. It was great talking with him. I've heard of his name for a while about being in LA. A friend of mine, guitar player friend, was on the road with him, playing with Lupe Fiasco for a while, and yeah, it was great. I love when I finally just get to connect with people that I've been hearing about for years. And so what you're being dropped into in the conversation is there's a little technical thing, man, right? Like I'm just having all kinds of technical issues. The hard drive, conversation with Bubby here. Where you're being dropped into the conversation is he talked about moving to Los Angeles to pursue the gaming industry. Bubby is a big fan of video games and anime and cartoons, and I wouldn't say cartoons. We actually talk about this. Like, I had a lot of questions about that world because I don't know a bunch about that stuff. And honestly, I think it took a bass player that I respect to to tell me about it, so that I would be like, okay, yeah, cool. Like, maybe I'll check it out. Maybe I'll give it a second look. Because I just never really got into that stuff. The gaming and the anime and stuff wasn't my thing. But I like how passionate Bubby is about it, and we do talk about that. But he moved to Los Angeles from Flint, Michigan, and it was kind of a scam. He was, he came out here to go to this gaming school, and then he got to this place, and everybody's like, "What? Yeah, those people don't exist. Like, we have no record of who you are." And someone had intercepted all the enrollment things, and so then he was just in LA, and so you're gonna be kind of dropped into the conversation there of him being in LA and having moved here from Flint, Michigan, and then we'll carry on, and we get to hear about all his touring and what he's up to and how he got to be where he is in his career. Fascinating talk with Bubby Lewis, and here it is. Here's my talk with bassist Bubby Lewis. After school, so you're in L.A. School's a bust.
Yep.
Big fraud, and then so now you're here. So you got to get plugged in. Where do you go to start getting plugged in?
I didn't honestly know where to go. I just knew Andrew Goucher. I met him at my first NAMM in '03, and he told me, if you ever decide to move to California, just hit him up. And long story short, I told Mike Tobias I was moving to LA, and Mike was nervous, and he was like, just make sure you connect with Andrew. So, I just kind of would go to his jams every now and then, but I just wanted to listen. I'm still a big fan of Gooch, even though that's like my brother. I mean, still, like.
Yeah.
I just like to listen to him, so I would go to his jams, and I met.
He was at Cordial a lot. I remember him being at Cafe Cordial.
Cordial, and then Townhouse wasn't happening yet. It was mostly just Cordial. Yeah, man, that joint don't even exist no more. That's crazy.
Yeah, I know. I was driving by there. Actually, I was up there kind of today, man. Like, I don't even know what it is anymore. Whatever it is, it's not open. But when things were open, it turned into something else. Since, like, there was that, and then there was Cozy's right across the street.
Yep, I got it.
And then Cozy's is just like a normal bar now.
Yeah, I went there right before that mug kind of. They left it alone. Yeah, dang, that's crazy. Them joints ain't even there no more. But
I know, man. Like, you get up into the valley, like all the things that have folded up in the valley. Mm-hmm. It's nuts. Like the only one still around is the potato.
Yeah, baked potato. Yep, that's gonna always be there. Like, I'll lose my mind if something happens with that, man. Like, baked potato better not go nowhere.
right. Like the LA scene on a whole will just crumble.
Yeah, man. Like that's crazy. But that's just wild. Them joints are no longer in existence. But
I know.
Anyway, though, so I just I will go see Gooch sometimes, man, and I was trying to meet more people and stuff like that. But at the time, it was before social media and all that kind of stuff, so it wasn't like. It just wasn't, for me at least, as easy to just get in a situation, where I was playing with people. Like, at that time, it still was, if you're not from here, then you're not with us type of thing. You know what I'm saying? And me, being the type of guy that I am, I'm still the same square, into anime and Star Wars and stuff like that. At that time, it wasn't cool yet. It wasn't cool to be a comic book nerd and into Marvel and, all this kind of stuff. But now it's like everybody's trying to do it, which is cool, welcome to the party,
Yeah.
But yeah, so if it wasn't for Gooch though, I wouldn't have even got a shot. Like, he's the first person to actually really try and get me in and actually successfully get me in. Like, because he's the Godfather, he's the OG, people was like, all right, whatever you say,
Right. He's up in Seattle now, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And his wife up there loving it, and safety and cleanliness, yeah.
Yeah, I've been meaning to reach out to him to get him on. All right, so you're in LA. You're doing you linked up with Andrew. Now, what were some, like, was it audition-based things where you started landing some gigs, or was it just on Goucher's recommendation?
Gooch made a phone call, and they said, yes, sir. And that was pretty much
it. Nice.
And I asked him, I was like, so is it auditions? And he was like, nah. He said, they're going to call you. The gig is yours. And
killing.
That's literally Marlon. Shout out to Mardog, another OG. Marlon called me just like Goose said he would, and I met up with him at some liquor store, and he gave me some DVDs and was like, just listen to everything on the DVD. It was a live performance of Snoop in Serbia, and that was it. And I
nice. Okay, so Snoop was the first one.
Yep, Snoop was the first gig, and we had 2 rehearsals. We were going out on almost a month-long tour, and we only had 2 rehearsals. And,
now, were they like power rehearsals, like 8-10 hours?
I mean, they was definitely like 10 hours, but the thing was is we didn't really rehearse nothing. Like they came and just kind of was smoking and
Yeah.
like
How I would assume the Snoop
oh yeah.
rehearsal would go. Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
and for me, like it was, I was just like ready. I'm like, okay, yeah, let's learn this stuff. And
Yeah.
Marlon and Lawrence was like, you good, man? Just chill. You're gonna be straight. Don't even trip. Don't even trip. And everybody's just walking through. Like Burrell stops by, and then Busta Rhymes stopped by, and then Dr. Dre stopped by, and I'm like, all right, so when are we gonna actually do something, you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
they just kept saying, nah, you good. And Lawrence was like, nah, cuz, you good, cuz, like, you gonna be straight, cuz, like, and I was like, man, all right.
Yeah.
That was it, though. We did them first 3 shows in Cali and was on a private jet in Europe a few days
Nice.
later. That's how it happened.
Okay. So how long was that tour?
That tour, so by the time we got to Europe, it was like 3.5 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, we went to places that I remember learning about in school. Like everybody knew about France and stuff, but we went to like Bratislava and you know what I'm saying, like
Yeah, right.
all over Germany, and like we was just going to just places that I literally was like, people come here, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It was crazy, dude. Of course, we went to Amsterdam and
Yeah, sure.
Norway and all that kind of stuff. It was nuts, man. Spain, it was crazy. Greece, all
Nice.
that.
So you get this like first taste of touring, and it's with Snoop.
Mm-hmm.
Were you hooked? Were you just like, yeah, like I love the road? I mean, I'm sure like that whole camp was great to be on the road with.
Yeah, everybody was cool.
Yeah, but like you're just like, yeah, this is for me. I love road life. Like I don't personally, I've never done like a big tour, but I know like just for me, like I'm not. It would have to be a very specific tour for me to.
Yeah.
I don't think mentally I'm not wired that way.
I mean, for me, you make a valid point, and that's a great question. Honestly, for me, I was like, this is dope. To just
Yeah.
For me, I was like, man, I've always wanted to see some of these places, and I wanted to eat everybody's food. I wanted to know what the food is. Like I want to get some real food in Spain. I want to get some serious Greek food, and I want to eat all the different sausages and stuff they got in Denmark, and all that's all I care about.
You just wanted to absorb it all, right?
Yeah, Belgian chocolate. I want real Belgian chocolate in Belgium. I want real Belgian waffles. I want the real stuff. So it was exciting, and I wouldn't trade it for nothing. The camp was cool. We got to see a lot. I love performing. I love being on the stage, and it made me appreciate it way more. And that's when I did the largest TV show ever. We did Live Earth, and it's like at the time they said like 3 point some billion people watched it.
Oh man!
It was almost like the Olympics, like Live Earth and Live Aid. They only do it. Well, at the time they would only do it like every 4 years or something like that, every 2 years. And I mean, I had never done nothing like that before, so we got on there and performed, and they was like, yeah, 3 point some billion people were watching it, and I was like, oh wow, okay, cool.
Was that in the back? Did you hear that number after you played or before you went out?
I heard it before. They said it was.
Was that in your mind, like while you're there, or were you able to just be like, nah, whatever, we're just going out there, we're just doing the gig, or in the back of your mind, it's like there's 3 point some odd billion people watching this?
I mean, I didn't care. I was just like, all right, let's do this. Like first they told me it was gonna be like 2 billion, and then after we performed, they said it actually 3 point some billion people. I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah, right. I mean, what's another billion?
Yeah, it's like whatever. It's all good. Like, hope y'all enjoyed it,
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. So then, how long were you with Snoop? Well, how old were you at this time?
Oh, man, just turned 21.
Oof. Okay.
Just
Young
turned
buck.
21. Yep. Had never seen nothing, didn't know what nothing looked like, smelled like, tastes like.
Right.
Nothing.
And this is And how long had you been in LA before?
A year and a half.
Okay.
A year and a half. So 2005 in the summer, I moved to LA. 2007, I was on tour.
Oh man, that's quick.
Yeah.
That's quick. Like you got in quick. That's amazing.
Yep.
And then how long did the run with Snoop last? Like not that just tour, but your time with Snoop.
So basically straight, it was almost 5 years. Then I started playing with Lupe Fiasco full time. And then in 2000,
is that when Eric Hammer was on guitar?
Eric.
Okay.
Hammer was on guitar.
Me and Eric used to teach at the same spot. So when he was in town, he'd come back and like whatever day we both taught it the same day.
Nice.
You know, and he's telling me road stories and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hammer, man, that was some good times. Eric Hammer band,
yeah, I bet.
Playing drums. And
yeah.
It was Matt.
I forgot about Bam.
Matt from Chicago, and then after Matt, it was Trey from Long Beach.
Okay.
And man, those are some good times, man. And Lupe was a completely different vibe, a different type of rap. Lou is an extremely lyrical rap, but Lou is like, he didn't smoke and stuff like that. So it was just different. It was a different vibe. But both Snoop and Lupe, they all cool, man. Everybody is cool.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so how long were you with Lupe?
Lupe, the last time I played with Lou was 2000. So let me see, from 2011, I think the last thing we did with Lou was maybe 2015. But I had started playing with Lupe in 2008.
Okay, so there's a little bit of crossover there.
Yeah.
Like you did Snoop for about 5 years, that puts it at 2010. So for like a couple years. Now, who would you go with if Snoop called? Would you go Snoop first? Would you like back burner Lupe's gig to go with Snoop?
Well,
if like there was a date conflict,
who
got precedence?
So because Snoop was the first, and I just was filling in at first with Lupe because it was 1500 doing that. Like Lawrence had basically stopped doing Snoop and was in charge of the Lupe thing. So Snoop was like, go on and do your thing, cuz you good, nephew. Like we'll be straight over here. So Lawrence was basically doing the Lupe thing, and Damo and Brody switching off playing bass, and neither one of them could do it. So Lawrence hit me one day. I had just got off the road with Snoop, and we had like 2 weeks off or something, and Lawrence was like, cuz, I need you, cuz, to where you at tomorrow? And I was like, I ain't doing nothing. He said, I need you to come to Canada and do a show with Lou. And I was like, okay, so we gonna rehearse up there? He was like, nah, cuz, just listen to the music. So I was like, all right. So I went to Target and bought a CD and a little Walkman CD player, and I listened to the junk on the flight.
Oh, that's hilarious. I like that your work tape came from Target.
Yeah, that's where
That's amazing.
I bought 2 CDs. And yeah, that was it. And I went on the flight.
And everything that was on those 2 records was on the set list?
No.
Like, I'd be paranoid that, I was going to say, I'd be paranoid that, like, there's no way I'm covering the whole gig with just these 2 records.
Nope, everything was definitely not on there because they had, 1500 is 1500. So they got the arrangements and stuff, and he was just like, we'll show it to you when you get here. So I made it to sound check, and my flight was delayed and all kind of stuff, but made it to sound check. So we had like an hour before the show, or an hour to sound check. And so him and Mars was showing me the arrangements and stuff, and they just kept saying, cuz, you'll be straight, cuz. Like, and I'm like, no, we got to learn this stuff. We only got through like 2 songs.
Oh, wow.
But it was cool, man. Growing up in church taught me to just listen.
Yeah.
And like, they calling out notes or calling out numbers or whatever, and it's just like, okay, let me go here. And they was like, we'll let you know when it's time to take your solo. And that was it,
Okay, so they gave you a lot of freedom then, too.
Oh, yeah. Lou was a very expressive gig, man. Like, it was like a rap / punk rock / like fusion type of show. Like, literally, like he would do playing chords on every song, and playing licks every few bars and stuff. It wasn't like your typical like just play the record type of thing. Because Lou is
Right.
he's a free person, and he'll break out on one of his own songs and start freestyling. You know what I'm saying? Like just because. Like
Okay.
the dude is a dictionary, man. He's a genius.
Oh damn. Okay.
Yeah.
So like on some like he would just make it up on the spot at the gig.
Man, at the gig, like there would be times we would do a song and then he would just start freestyling and we would just start playing just come up with a beat on stage and
I love this.
he would freestyle for like 10 minutes. Like, man, it was magical stuff, magical, historic moments for sure.
Nice.
For sure.
Nice. Are there any recordings? Like, is there any board mixes, any of that stuff that you have that you can go back and check out?
I don't have, but I know Bam got all of that stuff. Bam was the king of keeping stuff, and this was before everybody was using social media heavy. Like, it was still MySpace and kind of Facebook at the time, so nobody was really, like, recording it and putting it on YouTube or nothing like that back then. Not like that.
Sure.
You know,
sure.
But Bam got all that stuff, and yeah, man. But it was cool. But I still was doing Snoop full time, and then finally 2011 rolled around, and so yeah, from 2007 to 11, and Snoop was in between doing some stuff, and I was like, and Lupe was like, man, you know, you more than welcome over here, and what ended up happening, Lupe went on a Australia tour, so I did that tour. This was in 2010, so I was doing a lot more with Lupe because Snoop was taking breaks and stuff like that. And then finally, I was just like, all right, well, I'm going to go with Lupe because he was doing a lot more, and Snoop ended up getting a different band anyway. He ended up going with my boy Man Man from Philly, MD for John Legend and all of them. Just, everybody's close homies connected.
Yeah.
So that's when I started doing Lupe full time for a couple of years till 2015 basically. And then he stopped doing stuff a little bit and was traveling abroad and stuff like that. And then I did a reunion tour with Snoop in 2017.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's everybody still stays connected.
Yeah. So then it's after that second stint with Snoop that you come out with the first record. Were you working on this record while you were out on the road, like putting it together, piecing it together in your mind?
So the record came out actually right before the Snoop tour. My first record.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it came out like a few months before. 1 month, actually. Cool. I'm tripping.
Oh, that's super close.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Did you have like representation on the record? Did you have was it on a label or did you have an agent or like was it? Yeah, it was just out there. You just did a record and it's out in the world.
Threw it out there, CD baby. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know what I was doing. I was just like, I got 20-some songs that I want to put out, and that was it.
Yeah. Cool. Cool.
Yeah.
Man, I think that's just how you have to do it. I mean,
no, yeah.
Let's be real. That's how I started a podcast. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah,
I'm just doing
you just go.
Like
just
whatever.
Go for it.
Yeah.
And you know,
whatever. Figure it out.
Something will come out of it though. That's guaranteed. You know, you don't know beforehand, but you'll never know what is gonna happen unless you go out there and do it for sure.
Yeah, but no, you already had a relationship with Michael Tobias even before you got to L.A. How did that relationship start when you're just back in Flint playing some gigs?
Man, going to First NAMM show, and I was playing at, what was it? I used to not tell people the full details because I didn't want anybody to feel, like, offended. But, I mean, dude, this years ago, and this is part of my story. I was jamming at the Ken Smith booth with two guys. Normally, I never tell people the booth I was playing at. But I was jamming at the Ken Smith booth, and I had my eyes closed. The two guys, it was Imte, and then it was this other guy that sounded just like Rocco Prestia.
Okay.
And I had my eyes closed. They gave me a solo, and then when I opened my eyes, it was like 1,000 people standing around, and it was like all these huge over-the-shoulder cameras from back in the day.
Yeah, right.
You know what I'm saying? Like news reporters.
Yeah, like news, like nightly news in the 80s.
Yeah. like Ron Burgundy. You know what I'm saying? Like them giant
Right.
giant camcorders from back in the day. So I'm what 16, 17 years old. I'm scared because I'm
Yeah.
like, what is happening? You know what I'm saying? And there's this big black dude standing outside the window, just looking at me with his mouth open. And after we was done jamming, I kind of just tried to sneak out, and he grabbed me and was like, "No, you coming with me?" And I was like, I thought he was a security guard, man. So I'm sitting up there. This is back when everybody had those Nextel chirp phones. You like walkie-talkie type of phones, and you chirp the little button. So I'm trying to chirp my sister to tell her like, "Hey, I'm getting kicked out. Like, come save me."
Yeah.
And he's talking to me, and I'm not even really paying attention to what he's saying. I'm just like, dude, I'm about to get kicked out of this big giant building.
Right. You think you're in trouble, and you're trying to save trying to save yourself.
Yeah, man. So he takes me to this like Santa Claus looking guy and tells me to sit down. And I'm looking at all these pretty basses like, wow. And he tells me sit down and play, and I was like, but I need to find my sister. And he was like, man, just chill and play the bass. And I just started playing the bass and closed my eyes again, and then a bunch of other people were gathered around me, and this Jewish Santa Claus looking guy is just looking at me, shaking his head, and he gives me his card, and he says, if you ever want a bass, if you ever want me to build you a bass, I'd be more than happy to. You're a great player. And
that's amazing.
Then he said, my name is Michael Tobias.
Yeah.
And my mouth dropped because I had heard of Tobias, but we didn't have that kind of stuff back in Flint. You know, those are fancy bases. Like, you couldn't even find stuff like that in Michigan hardly. And
I forget what year that he sold Tobias to Gibson and then started MTD. I forgot what year that was.
90, I want to say 93 technically, and 92 I could be off.
That makes sense because I had an MTD in like 90. I had an MTD 535 in like 96 maybe.
Yeah. So
97.
It definitely had been around for a couple of years by that time. I want to say 92 or 93 though is when the whole Gibson thing happened, and then he started doing the MTDs.
Yeah.
So, you know, we definitely didn't have no MTDs in Michigan, though. Maybe an old Tobias you could find, a used one or something, but no MTDs.
Right, like a growler at a pawn shop?
Yeah, somewhere, random in the boonies or something, you know, but that's how that happened. And then afterwards, this big black dude was like, I'm Andrew Goucher. He had already told me his name, but I wasn't paying attention.
Okay.
And when he told me, I was like, I put two and two together, and I was like, wait, Andrew Goucher, like the Hawkins and all these other gospel groups. And he was like, yeah, that's me. And I just flipped out because where I come from, we used to say his last name wrong. We used to call him Andrew Gouchie.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, it wasn't no YouTube and stuff, so we just was reading the credits, and you know, I'm a teenager. I don't know how to pronounce this weird looking.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? I thought your last name was Gouchie, so he was like Goucher, and I was like, oh, okay. So that's how that all happened.
No, that's hilarious. Man, it's like talk about like that's like the old school getting discovered.
Yep, the old
which
way.
is like that's like man, those what year was that?
That was
so you're like 16, 17?
2003.
2003. That's like right on, you know, like right before.
Yep.
Like that's the last kind of generation of, I think, people getting discovered the old school way. Now it's you gotta have your stuff out everywhere.
The last of getting discovered, like the old school way. The last of learning the instrument the hard way. Like we didn't have no YouTube and stuff. No shade to YouTube or anything. Like
I think it can be an amazing resource.
Phenomenal.
But it's
phenomenal.
But there's something about working it out and like sticking with it, you know, and rewinding the damn thing 1,000 times because you need to learn that lick.
Yeah, you know, if you want to, and you know, it was an era where you couldn't slow it down. Like you had to just train your ear to
right. But how much of that did you already kind of have together, man? Like coming from the church background, like your ears were probably already dialed.
It's literally because of growing up in church, and then I grew up playing
Yeah.
with Eddie Brown, for crying out loud. So,
Oh, okay. I did not know
oh
that.
yeah,
Okay.
me and him, I've
Okay.
known Eddie since I was like 4 or 5 years old, man.
Is he from Flint?
He's from Flint. Eddie
Okay.
is from
Okay.
Flint. So he came, him and his family came to my dad's church when I was like maybe
Oh.
5.
Okay.
And so he was playing organ at our church, and he was like 7.
Yeah.
7, 8 years old, like leading praise and worship and stuff like that. So that's how that
Oh
started.
man, that's nuts.
Yeah.
I remember like I used to go to Cordial because of Eddie.
Yep.
Like that was Eddie. He's always just so happy, and he looks. If you were just to watch him, he looks like he doesn't even know he's playing. He's just enjoying the
in
music
another
so much.
realm, yeah. And
Yeah, like he doesn't even know it's his hands
Yep.
creating all that.
Yep.
He's just so happy to be there, and he's enjoying it so
Yep.
much. Eddie's so bad.
Eddie is like he's like the epitome of someone that just becomes music when they play. And then right up the freeway, you had Chris Coleman,
right?
Who is another one that's like Chris Coleman is music. Like,
yeah,
his information is beyond anything we've probably ever seen. You know, so growing up around those guys, you're kind of forced to have to, you know, like, you see how easy they're doing it, so you think that that's normal. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So for me to go other places around the world, and I see people like, you know, they beat themselves up over music and stuff, and this is like, dude, what are you talking about? Like, where I grew up, you just don't beat yourself up, just do it. Like, just figure it out.
Right.
You know, but YouTube is definitely amazing for this new generation. And what I say is, hey man, if we would have had it back in the day, we would have been doing it too. You know, whatever you got to do to figure it out, I just go for it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Know? I mean, our way was, you know, more difficult, but But there's something about however you learn, because this YouTube generation is going to be talking about. Well, back in my day, we had YouTube.
Yeah.
We had to actually like sit there and type it in.
Right.
You know, now it's going to be some next level way, even faster way of getting
some kind of
the information
in your brain or some junk like that for you. Right. You learn a lick in 1 second. You know, who knows?
Yeah. Right. It's just uploaded to you.
Yeah.
And it's all there.
So, yeah. You know, but yeah, it's those were some. Man, those are some great times. I will not ever like disregard that. It's phenomenal.
Sure. So you do the one record, 2017. You finish up another run with Snoop. How long does that second run with Snoop last?
So the second run in 2017, it was basically just a reunion tour. Superfly hit me randomly one day, man. I was sitting down watching Harry Potter or something, and he was like, are you around? And I was like, yeah. He was like, yeah, Snoop, we about to go out on tour, and Snoop got a reunion tour. He want to call some of the old band members, some of the old Snoopadelics, and I was like, yeah, man, I'm down. And so it was like a month and a half or something like that, almost 2 months tour.
Okay.
And we just went around the U.S., and then after that I went back out to Japan for the longest tour I had taken at the time. It was a 9-month run.
Who was that with?
That was with EXILE the Second. They're a boy band out here that's really big.
Okay.
So
do they have any traction in the States? I've never heard of them.
Yeah, I'm sure. You know, K-pop and J-pop and C-pop and all that. They definitely got.
Oh, it's like that. Oh, okay. Yeah, well then I wouldn't know even if it was an American thing.
Yeah,
like I'm not.
Yeah, but they're really dope. So we did that tour. Was out here for 9 months, man. It was great. It was great.
And then that was your longest tour in Japan. How many times had you been to Japan before?
At least maybe. Oh man, I don't know. The first time was 2012. That was for a month and a half, and then I came back and did a clinic tour. Then I came back and did 2 gigs with Suicidal Tendencies.
Okay.
And then did a 6-month tour with the artist AI. She's a really massive artist out here. One of my closest friends too. That was 6 months tour, so that was my first time living out here, sort of.
Yeah.
And then then the Snoop thing and all that kind of stuff, and then back out here with EXILE the Second. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, between that run and the release of your second album, that's when you're touring with the EXILE the Second.
EXILE the Second. When I came off that tour, I was finishing up my second record, and then 2019 is when I dropped it.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
How's it this time around with doing another record? What was your same? Was it? Let me rephrase that. Was it the same approach of like, I'm doing it, it's just out there, I got a couple more ears on my things because of the gigs I've been doing, but I'm just gonna put it out there? Or do you have representation, publicists,
Second
whatever?
one was definitely representation. Shout out to RC from RC and the Grits. From actually going out on the road with Snoop in 2017, RC was playing keys at that time because he was a Snoopadelic long before me. It was him and Sput.
Okay.
Sput used to play drums for Snoop, play keys. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, I only know of him as a drummer.
Yeah. Sput played everything, but Sput wasn't there, but RC was there. So RC signed to Rope-A-Dope, and so he basically connected me with Lewis over at Rope-A-Dope, and so Hero Dynasty came out through Rope-A-Dope.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think the nature or the relevance of a record label in nowadays is? I mean, I don't mean COVID. I mean 2019, 2020.
Yeah, so that's a good question. Most people are wondering, like, is it a necessity? It's definitely not.
Yeah. Okay.
Because of social media and all this kind of stuff, yeah, obviously you don't need anything. If you can just do the necessary things for marketing, you'll get out there. You know, like there's a lot of guys that don't have no label. They be putting their stuff out on DistroKid, but it's the marketing side of it that gets it to the listener. You know what I'm saying? That's all that really matters.
Right.
But if you have like a distribution deal, which is basically like Rope-A-Dope and some of the other indie labels, which is cool. I love that they do that, where they help you to distribute the music,
Right.
And it just it's because that's what you really want. You just want people to be able to hear your music. So I'm grateful for people like Rope-A-Dope and stuff like that. But getting like that big record deal like back in the 80s and 90s and stuff like that everybody dreams of, where they give you, here's $500K or here's a $2 million signing bonus, like,
right.
You don't have to.
No, I don't. Yeah, right.
Like, if you get it,
then,
though, great.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Yeah, I mean, why say no? You know what I mean? If like if someone approached me, like I'd probably say yes.
Yeah, it depends on the fine writing and all that kind of stuff. But for the guys that are like putting all their hopes and dreams on that, like if you don't get that, it's not the end of the world. I'm not gonna tell you don't go after it. I'm just gonna say it's not the end of the world. Like you still can do something and become something. Just make sure
without that piece.
Just put everything you have into your music, and the rest will work itself out.
Yeah. Have you toured your records?
Not much.
Have you?
Not much. I've done some shows and stuff here and there, but like right as things were kind of looking like they were lifting off, everything kind of started shutting down.
Right, everything unlifted.
Yeah, like really quick. Like that's what last year was going to be. I was going to go to South Korea, and I was planning to go to Taiwan and Hong Kong and do clinics, but also like do my own shows. And I was going to come back out here to Japan. I got a manager out here in Japan that was trying to like set up the whole Blue Note and Billboard and all of that junk. Was just like, so
man. So I mean, those are all just pending, right? I mean,
I mean, and it's the thing is I got to a place where it's like if I'm not able to do it the same way some of my homies are able to do it, like it's not the end of the world. If I can just keep making the music that makes me happy, then I'll be satisfied.
Right. Yeah. Cool. I feel like that's always a good way to approach things. Is like make sure that the personal itch gets scratched,
Yeah.
and not the financial, occupational.
Yeah.
Because that world's too flaky.
Yeah, and if I'm able to just continue to do what I'm doing and take care of my family, that's all I care about.
Yeah.
You know, and touring my music, that's a passion, of course, but it's not like the only thing. Like to me personally, my dream is to sit up and turn on all the anime that I watch and hear my music, or play a video game that I love to play and hear my music. That's like the for real, you know.
Right. Yeah, I remember when Thundercat got into the last Grand Theft.
Yep. Yep.
I think Dennis is a friend of mine, and I remember Dennis telling me about that.
Oh yeah, and like people like him, me, and like some of the others, Evan Marion. It's a bunch of us that are into this type of stuff. Like that's the goal. You know.
Okay.
Like I even seen Corey Henry posted. What was it, last week? He said something on Twitter like, "My dream is to have my music on video games." Like I get it. Like
yeah, that's like the best of both worlds for you.
Yeah, like because we play them, but to be playing one of your favorite games, like I can't imagine what Kevin Durant and LeBron and them feel like when they sit down and play NBA 2K.
Yeah, right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, granted, they're used to it because they've been in the league for a long time, but still, that's got to be something crazy to be playing.
Yeah, and I wonder. Yeah, right. And I mean, they know that, those guys like LeBron, they know they're celebrities, but I wonder if sometimes it's still like, yeah, that's my character.
Yeah.
If they're still.
It has to be nuts. Like Zion Williamson, he was just on the cover of NBA 2K21. I know for him, especially being a rookie, this is his second year, I know for him, he's got to be like, man, dude, I grew up playing this game. And now I'm on the cover and I'm in the game and I'm like one of the best players in the game. I dunk on everybody, but I also do it in real life. Like that has to be incredible, man.
Yeah. Are you actively putting together another record like during this time when we all have some downtime? Are you working on some new stuff?
As we speak, I literally
nice.
I've been taking my walks out here in Japan and writing music. That's like my method. I walk for miles and miles, and I write music, and I listen to the stuff that I've already made. Go back home, make the adjustments if I need to. That's literally it. Like I'm planning on putting music out within the next month or two. Honestly.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah,
man, definitely hit me up when it gets released.
Oh, yeah.
I want you to talk about that again. What is your process? Besides the walks, so you go out on the walks, are you thinking about music, or are you clearing your head of music so that when you come back to the music, you're coming at the music with something that's informed by something else? Like, are you really absorbing nature and bringing this idea of nature to the writing?
Great observation.
Or when you're walking, are you thinking about music?
It's a little bit of both. Like I go on the walk. I basically go on my walk and get inspiration from what I see.
Yeah.
Japan it's like being in a real anime, man. Like you'll be walking through a neighborhood and there's like 10 shrines in just one little neighborhood, and then you're walking down the street and there's a temple, and then you're walking down the street. Obviously there's anime stuff everywhere, like everywhere. Like they use anime to advertise for everything out here.
Okay.
Like back home, a cartoon is just that. It's a cartoon and it's for kids. But out here, you can be 90 years old, but you know who Luffy is from One Piece. Everybody knows who Goku is. Everybody knows who Tanjiro is. Like, everybody, no matter how old you are, like, anime is just like like, for example, like the Allstate guy on the commercials, that's Allstate, man. Like, that's Luffy out here.
Solid impersonation, by the way.
Yeah. That's Allstate, man. That dude, like, that's Luffy out here, though.
Okay.
for
What's the
Japan.
history of anime? Like, when did this begin?
For me?
No, I
Or
mean,
just period?
within the world, yeah. Like, how did it come to be? I don't know that much about it.
1940 something was when.
Oh, that old.
Yeah, 1940 something was when. I
Man.
mean, now comics, they weren't called comics back then, but it was just drawing like stories and stuff like that. That's been around forever, pretty much.
Sure.
But
Something that would be in a newspaper. Or
yeah,
something.
yeah. But like
Yeah.
anime, like it was. Most people know about Astro Boy, but there was a few things right before Astro Boy. But when anime really, really, really popped off to the rest of the world, I would say was probably in the 60s and 70s. If you're talking about like other than Astro Boy, Speed Racer, everybody knows about Speed Racer.
Right.
And then for those that don't know, Voltron is actually Japanese.
I did not know that, and I was a huge fan growing up.
Voltron is Japanese, and so is Transformers. It's originally
Okay.
Japanese. What it is just America just stole it and didn't give credit like they do most things. That's another.
Right. But now
another topic.
that period of cartoons for me was like Voltron, Thunder. It was Thundercats,
yeah.
and was Thundercats also Japanese?
No, that's American.
Okay.
Thundercats, He-Man, and G.I. Joe, that kind of stuff is all American. X-Men, obviously, stuff like that is all American. But Speed
Okay.
Racer, Voltron, even Power Rangers was stolen.
Yeah, that was like the new Voltron to me. Like I
Yeah.
remember when Power Rangers happened in the '90s, and I'm like,
Yep.
this is just Voltron, just
Yeah.
different.
It's just like a real thing, basically, and there were, I don't know, like maybe 40 some shows that Power Rangers jacked their idea from. All dating
Okay.
back to the 70s though. Like Ultraman is from the 60s. That's all
Okay.
Power Rangers is, like a guy that's normal size that grows into a big size to fight a big size monster. And obviously Godzilla was the one who paved the way for that type of fantasy. Godzilla has been around since the late 50s, early 60s.
Okay. Yeah, when was that original movie? Like I always think of it as like late 50s, early 60s.
Yeah, the first
I don't really
one
know.
was the first one I feel like was like 57 or something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
There's a few that nobody really saw, that they only saw in like a village or something like that before it went mainstream, quote unquote mainstream for Japan. So
Yeah.
this all started years ago, man. But anime didn't blow up around the world, I wouldn't say, until the 90s.
Right. That's kind of when I remembered it hitting, and then I, there was Powerpuff Girls or something like that. I
Or
think that was the
Sailor
title. It
Moon.
seemed like it was Americanized version of that. There was they were riding the coattail.
Yep.
But that's when I really
Girls,
remember
yeah.
anime kind of hitting the scene around the 90s, like mid 90s.
Dragon Ball Z and
Right.
Sailor Moon and like Ronin Warriors. All of those joints just kind of changed the world, especially Dragon Ball Z. Like that's what made everybody around the world say, okay, this isn't a cartoon, it's anime. Like there's a difference,
Right.
So that it changed my life. I'll tell you that much.
What would you qualify those differences as being? Is anime more grown up, mature content, but it's just okay?
Anime.
So it's like Family Guy. Like it's a cartoon, but it's not a cartoon for kids.
It can be for kids, but there's like lessons that can be learned in it. Like,
right.
I mean, but we had somewhat adult cartoons, like the old school Batman. Remember that one from back in the day, like the 90s Batman, which was dope. Like it was for kids, but it had its dark moments. You know what I'm saying? You had the original Spider-Man cartoon from the 90s, X-Men, Silver Surfer. Like, so Marvel has always kind of, pinpointed those life lessons and stuff like that. But anime has always been that. Even the stuff for kids, like it's things that you can take from it and hold on for the rest of your life,
Right. I mean, it's very similar to like what Pixar is doing.
Pretty much. pretty much.
Like it's like there's layers to it. So like
Big
the children can be amused by just the characters and the colors.
Yep.
But then there's some content there, and even back to like Toy Story
Oh
1.
man.
There's gas mileage jokes.
Yep.
Yep. There's like some stuff in there for the adult too.
That's true. Monsters Inc., Monsters University, all of them joints, man. Finding Nemo, like there's something you can learn from it. So anime is a culture, man. It's a culture, and me being a guy, I'm from an era of where only the nerds watch that stuff, and like back where I come from, the homies were so dumb. You be watching them Chinese cartoons. Like, it's the most racist, the most racist thing you could say. Like China and Japan are definitely not the same, but
yeah, right.
People just didn't know any better. They just like it's from China,
Right.
So, but back in that day, it wasn't cool.
Yeah, I don't think of like anime and Flint, Michigan really finding a lot of common ground.
No common ground whatsoever. So it was like me and 5 of my other friends that would watch that junk, and like all my other homies that I was cool with, they'd be like, man, don't be talking about this Chinese cartoons when girls is around, man. And I'd be like, man, shut up, man. Like, Goku is cold. Nah, cuz, like, nah, that's corny, cuz. You chatty, cuz. Like, nah, nigga, you chatty. Like, Goku is hard. Like, that's the way we used to talk. That junk is crazy, man.
That's hilarious. So let's circle back for a second, because I was having an issue with some hardware. You're from Flint. You grew up playing in the church, but I want to make sure we do talk about that because I've referenced it already.
Yeah, absolutely.
You grew up playing in the church. Dad was a pastor, Eddie Brown. He's there. Like, get your ears together. What from the years you're 14 until you get out to L.A. and you're 19, so for the 5 years, besides playing in the church, what are you checking out musically to get that kind of technique together?
The truth is,
because you're informed by something else besides just gospel stuff to get that level.
Well,
of
the truth.
That's not a diss. That's just
there's
some jazz training. There's some fusion in there. There's some.
Well, so here's the truth, man. I'll be totally honest with you. Seeing and hearing a guy like Eddie play, and then driving 30 minutes up the freeway to go hear Chris Coleman play at his church, like, if that's what you see every day, that's normal, right?
Right.
So,
and you just got to be able to do that on the bass.
Yeah, like, it's just like, okay, if they're doing this on their instrument, and then you got guys like, a lot of people don't know this, Daru Jones is also from Michigan as well.
Oh, okay.
And most people know him now for, like, and he's one of the greatest ever. He's got, like, some of the greatest feel ever on drums. But Daru actually used to have, like, a 9-piece drum set.
Oh.
And he was, like, this dude was, like, Virgil Donati and Vinny Caliuta, like.
Right.
But most people don't know him for that playing style. But he could go there in the drop of a dime. Like, fusion, it didn't matter, and he still can. He's what he has done has just embraced his vibe. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's why he is the man he is today, because he's like, I can do all that other stuff, but this is what I want to do.
Sure.
And
sure.
So, but hearing guys like that, man, and then you got all these beasts in Detroit like Joe Otis, and I mean, it was just so many dudes. Liddell, what was his name? Liddell. I can't remember his last name, but he used to play for, man, a bunch of people. Usher, he played for a bunch of people. But this is way back in the day. Like, all these dudes could blaze, though. So seeing that and hearing that, you just think that's the norm. So Eddie would just tell me, like, okay, listen to this. So he would be like, yeah, check out Chick Corea. And from Chick Corea, I really started paying attention to Frank and Bobby. From Frank and Bobby, I discovered Alan Holdsworth. And
okay, so you're really kind of coming at the bass from other instrumentalists, not just bass players.
Oh, yeah, no. For bass, like, of course, I listened to Goucher and, you know, John Patitucci, Fred Hammond, everybody. Marcus Miller, everybody. But where I really was touched musically is Frank Gambale, Alan Holdsworth, and a little bit of John McLaughlin.
Okay. Okay.
And from there, it actually completely switched up, and I started becoming inspired by film composers. So John Williams, Alan Silvestri, Randy Newman, Hans Zimmer, like these guys, film score became the thing for me, and then video game score, Nobuo Uematsu and Hidenori Iwasaki and Shohei and all these different video game composers, like that's the stuff that really started inspiring me and just made me see like I can be a bass player, but I don't have to think like a bass player, like just think music.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yep.
Is composing on a bigger scale for, the orchestra or, getting into arranging or writing for big size ensembles something you're interested in? Are you interested in pursuing, just film scoring?
I mean, for me, the biggest is video game scores.
Yeah.
And then film score. But believe it or not, if you ask me to write a pop song, I can do it. I can do it in a few minutes. But where I'm really gonna feel free is if you gave me like a empty video game or empty movie, a movie scene, film scene, and was like make some music. That's where like my wings come out.
Yeah, because the visual component.
Yeah, and to be able to create something that nobody has heard before, just based off of how looking at this scene, what do I hear? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's, to me, that's where I feel the most free when I do composing stuff.
Man, it's a really fun thing to do. I think I've talked about it once on the podcast before. I did a soundtrack to a whole movie with just solo upright bass.
Nice.
And like she sent me the final cut, and I just had to like watch the movie a bunch and like work it out. And it was so fun to like connect with characters and tell a character's story through like who you perceive them to be or who the director makes them to be to the viewer. Like having the visual component is the most fascinating to me, and even writing music that's wasn't directly tied to something visual.
Absolutely.
Writing something that's so strong that will ignite imagination, so that that I think is the most fun. Is let the listener create the visual
and trying to paint a picture.
Yeah.
On top of a picture that's already there, and like draw people into a certain type of emotion. Like, and I what I used to do is, I mean, of course, this is hilarious, and no one could ever redo like the Star Wars score. Nobody like it's totally off limits. But I used to think to myself like, okay, if I would have wrote theme music for Darth Vader instead of ba 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 da, what would I have done?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. But that freaking John Williams score is so. So
it's iconic. I mean, as soon as you hear that, now.
Even if you've never watched Star Wars before,
right?
Even if you've never seen the movies, everybody around the world knows. Ba, 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 da, 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 da. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that junk is Star Wars, even if you never gave the movie the time of day. So, to me, it's like, all right, I need to do that for everything that I make.
Right.
It's got to be that iconic that people remember. Like it pops in their head from time to time. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. No, yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that's the most. There's so many elements of music for film and musical for anything visually related, and creating these themes that are so easily recallable, and it takes you all the way back to that.
Yep.
I think somebody can always remember. This is what I think about music. is hearing a piece of music, you know, like if I heard Brandy come on the radio right now, like it would take me back to being 16
Absolutely.
or 17.
Absolutely.
You know, and like you have that much power then with a visual.
Yep.
That's the best. Now you can remember the first time you saw Star Wars.
Yep.
If Star Wars didn't have a soundtrack, I don't know if I would.
Nope.
You know, how many movies have I seen in my life? A lot.
Right.
I don't remember the first time I saw it.
Yep.
But that Brandy track will take me all the way back.
Take you all the way back. Same thing with anything like Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Like, man, or Harry Potter. You know, Pirates of the Caribbean. I mean, dude, there's so many iconic scores, and to me, like, to anybody that's making music, whether you're scoring a film or just making a pop track, like, do that. Put everything you got into that joint so it can be so iconic that you'll never, like, I mean, if me and you were to start talking about a lot of the Missy Elliott beats, like Timberland beats from back in the day, like those joints are going to go down in history. But all them Busta Rhymes songs and Jay-Z songs, and I mean, when you switch genres, we can talk about Journey or Green Day or whoever. Like that genre is iconic.
Yeah.
It's historical.
And I wonder if how much of that is, you know, I was talking, I think, with my brother when we were back in Phoenix for the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when you learn something, like the first time I heard Green Day, you know, it was from the record Dookie. Like, that takes me all the way back again. And then, like, whatever Green Day is going to do, I learned them one way. And him and I were actually talking about Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Oh,
I loved Red Hot Minute because that was the record that I really started listening to. And so, like, Blood, Sugar, Sex, Magic, it come up before, but that's the quintessential one.
Yeah.
But because I learned of them here, that's when they made their fingerprint on me. And then it's that moment with me and them will never, you can't touch it.
No.
Like, I'll always love that record the most. That's the most impactful to me. Yeah.
It's special. And like, for me, what I try and do to try and, like, absorb the evolution of all of these artists, like, for example, okay, Patitucci for me was Gotta Match, right? So that was when I was like, dang, okay, who is this guy? And that's Eddie was like, this is Patitucci. This is who I was telling you about. I went and got another record. My brother was like, go get anything Patitucci is playing on. And I went and got the Imprint record, and I was listening to it. And at the time, I couldn't really grasp it because I was so used to right?
Right.
And on Imprint, he's like playing upright more, and I was like, that it was putting me to sleep, but I was like, man, where's the fireworks at? You know what I'm saying?
Those early records were a lot more electric and a lot more fireworky. Yeah.
So what I had to do was I said, okay, I got to be wrong about this because this record is later on, and he's grown into this. This is his voice.
Yeah.
So when I went back and listened to the Imprint record, I was like, dude, this album is beautiful. Like, and I was able to really feel the growth. You know, Patitucci is Patitucci, no matter if it's 1984 or 2021, or he's still Patitucci. But to see where his imagination went, it just made me
his imagination, his writing style, and who he thought, obviously always very highly technical and musically academic, but how he thought there's like a self-editing process that's in his playing, I think, and I remember having a conversation with him at his place one time, and I think I might have actually pissed him off. I hope not. And I did apologize like while we were there, but I was asking, I just got done playing his upright when we were at his place, and I'm like, dude, how did you have this set up when you were playing with Chick? Because, you were really, really getting around the bass differently. Not more or less. It was just a different thing. Yeah, versus the record that had just came out, which I think was line by line.
Oh,
and I think this is why I think I pissed him off is because he's like, well, let me see it, and he grabs his bass and he just blisters through this chorus of the blues.
Of course.
And I started laughing. I'm like, man, I hope I did not upset you at all. I am not at all putting your technique in check by any means.
Nah,
like it was never that. I was just curious about what your setup was like.
Practically a preacher, man. That dude wasn't mad about nothing.
He's a sweetheart. He's an absolute sweetheart. He's my favorite. Like his two daughters came into like a studio where we were having this lesson.
Yeah.
the way he introduces me to them, he's like, "Oh, this is Ryan. He plays bass too,"
Yeah.
as if John Patitucci and I are on the same.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Oh yeah.
we're on the. It was amazing to me. I love that
He's
guy.
a down home type of guy, man.
Yeah.
John Patitucci.
Have you gotten to hang with him or study with him?
I haven't got a chance to hang with him or nothing. Just I talked to him on the phone years ago. Me and Eddie were doing a youth choir concert, and we took a break because some other choirs were singing, and my sister had went to go see her, and my sister's a drummer, and she's real good friends with Terry Lynn Carrington.
Oh,
and so she went to go see them in Detroit. It was Herbie, John Patitucci, Terry Lynn Carrington. Boy, that's a squad. And I forgot,
right.
maybe like Steve Tavoloni or something on SAG. It's a squad. It's like a super squad. Like,
right.
So my sister,
that could have been anybody, like Bob Bergbrecker.
Oh, anyone. I mean, it's Michael Brecker. I don't care who the devil is. Like, this is a squad. And so she's telling me, like, days before, like, I'm going to see if I can get him to call you or whatever. So she calls me in the middle of the break, and me and Eddie are outside, and she's like, I got somebody here to talk to you. And John Patitucci got on the phone, and I was just losing, dude. I was losing my cotton picking mind, dude.
Yeah, no, I know. Before I went to New York, him and I like had a couple long phone conversations, and it was surreal. Like to see my phone light up, and just the fact that my phone read John Patitucci, like I lost it.
Yep,
you know,
it's craziness.
It's
man.
insane.
But other than that, I talked to him on Skype, or not Skype, but what's that junk everybody be doing a live stream on?
The Zoom?
Zoom, yeah. Last year it was me and him and Goucher, Victor Wooten.
Was that the thing Oscar
Bailey.
put together?
It was something that Victor Wooten, the Berkeley thing they've been doing. Like they started all last year.
Okay.
So
yeah, I've seen some of that.
I just was going to watch it because Goucher, I saw that he was going to be on there, and Justin Raines was on there, and I think Sput and Calvin Rogers, and so I was just watching it, and I commented, and people was like, "Oh my gosh, Bubby Lewis is in the comments and all this kind of stuff," and I'm like, "All right, y'all, chill out, like let's just listen." And then Goucher texted me and said, "Steve wants to put you on." And I was just
cool.
Whatever you say, man. And they just, it just happened out of nowhere. My camera came on, and they were just like, and Bubby
they
Lewis
roped you in.
Entered, and all these people was like, "Oh my gosh, this is too much. Bootsy was already on here, Ron Carter now, Bubby Lewis." And I'm sitting at home practically in my drawers, like, all right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Just hanging out.
Yeah, like, all right, cool, but that was the last time I really talked to him. But yeah, man, but just to hear how his music evolved, it made me do that with every artist that kind of wrote me in. Like I did that with Jhene, I did that with Pink Floyd, I did that with Pearl Jam, like every group. The freaking what's their name? Sky Rockets in Flight, Afternoon Delight. I can't even think of their name right now. It's losing me, but I just started doing that with everybody. The Carpenters.
Okay.
Every group, everybody that I listened to, I just was like, let me go from the beginning to the end with their music, and it helped me to see, like, okay, Bubby, you have to evolve. You know what I'm saying? Like,
sure. And so, what can we look forward to with this next record? Like, what?
Man.
Where do you feel the evolution process is taking you? And before you answer that, I'm putting pause on the episode. Stay there. I just got to use the restroom real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
But we'll come back to this question.
Okay.
Be right. Hold on.
Yeah.
All right, so I make sure I have a good edit point. Where can we see your evolution going with this next record you're working on?
Honestly, man, I'm going more and more in the direction of what my true passion is, and since it is the video game and the anime and film composition stuff, that's what this next record is, man. It's obviously like, yeah, you're gonna have some songs with me soloing. Like I got this one song I'm a solo for like 8 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like an 8-minute long bass solo.
Bubby's doing the bass bash all by himself.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's what's happening.
Pretty much, literally from like top to finish. It's almost 8-minute solo, but then it's just some stuff where you just listen, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of anime score elements, tons of video game score elements, little film score elements here and there, but that's pretty much it, man. I'm at a place.
Have you ever taken sorry to interrupt, but I'm
No.
curious, have you ever taken an anime or a cartoon, turn the sound off and reimagine the soundtrack to it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, a bunch of times. Like my favorite thing actually was to, like, I would just look at Pokemon, like the game, and I love the music obviously, but I would turn it down and I would think to myself, okay, for this level or this village that I'm in or whatever, this town or this route that I'm on, what would I have the music sound like? And you just use the surroundings. Like, okay, what do the trees look like? Or what season is it right now? Is it snowing? The different type of Pokemon you catch here, like, what should it sound like, you know?
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's, like, my favorite stuff to do, man. But so that's why.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's why for this record, I mean, the last record I did it, the first record I did it, but it gets better for me every time, and it gets easier every time, you know. And one thing I did was I stopped listening to stuff that I would make and this is garbage. Like, I stopped doing that.
You stopped listening, or you stopped with that inner dialogue?
Yeah, I stopped telling myself, because I did that a lot with my first record. Like, nah, I don't like this. I'm gonna scrap this. No, just wait, you know. Or either I really thoroughly think about it before I even do it, and then even if it's an idea that I listen to a week later and I'm not really feeling it, I just say to myself, well, there's something in here, a way that I could use it. I just got to maybe tweak it. You know, I just did that recently with a song that I started a few weeks ago, and I was listening to it and was like, nah, this lead part is just not, it's not it. But took my walk and boom, it came to me, and now it feels
nice.
Good, you know.
Cool. I like that feeling that it's difficult to qualify, but when you know that's it, and you know, like, all right, that's it.
Yep.
It doesn't need to be reworked. It doesn't need to be like that's it.
That's it. Yeah.
But then when you don't have that feeling, it's just like, well, is there enough here that I can that is that feeling in there at all?
Yeah.
Maybe it's not. Maybe this is just a fragment that will come into something else later on.
Yeah.
Or how else can I tweak some things? But that feeling, it's a really good feeling, because you don't have to. You can let it go, like emotionally and mentally. You can just like, fine, it's free. It's free to exist,
and
that's a good
feeling. For
feeling.
me, I just tell people, you know, like, this is just me, but I don't throw away songs anymore. Even if it's something that just doesn't, it's not cracking to me no more. Like, I'll just put it up. Like, there was a song on Hero Dynasty, that song "What It Is." It's like that West Coast video game sounding song. Like, I wasn't going to use that on the record, but I randomly just was going through my files one day and I heard it and I was like, man, this might be cool as a little interlude, and there you have it. It's on the record.
Nice.
You know, like, you just never know, man. You never know how something could turn out. Something might be missing, one small element that changes how you feel about it, but I highly recommend never throw away a song. Never throw it away.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, definitely keep me posted on when the new record comes out, and we'll have you back on, and we'll just talk through the record.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
And what it was, and all the different influences that went into it. Let's go behind the music on what the next record is.
For sure, man. I'm down. I'm totally down.
Killing, dude. Thanks so much for your time.
Yeah.
And we're gonna talk to you again soon when this record comes out.
All right, sounds good to me, man.
All right, kill it, dude. I'll talk to you soon.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and that's my talk with Bubby Lewis. I'm really interested to hear the record he's working on, and I'm also interested to hear about it. I want to hear about like where some of this music. I always like hearing the behind the music of it. You know, like what were the influences, and you know where these things when he goes on these walks. Like what were the specific scenes that related to the specific songs, and things like that. So I'm really interested to hear about that, and I'm going to be interested to have him back for him to explain all that. That's all I got, folks. That's all I got. Yeah, that's pretty much it. We'll catch you on the next one in a minute.